All right. So,
Yo, yo, yo. What up? Welcome to episode 3 of User Input. We're back for another week of gamer talk. Got my co host, Juz, and my man Duffy and Vince are here with us. What up? What up?
Popping.
Yo,
Yo, got the pop. Throwback. Yes, sir. I feel you, man. But yeah, another episode of User Input presented by Gamers Anonymous on Facebook. And we're here to talk about some games, of course. And I think I want to start off by saying Monster Hunter World, as you can see in the background playing, it's a pretty fucking awesome game. I don't know if Duffy has it, but I know Vince and Just has it. Duffy, you need to get on that.
I know I'm lazy. It's my fault.
Fair enough. Fair enough, but it's worth breaking the lazy streak, man.
It's worth it.
It's
Okay.
yeah.
Dare I say?
Definitely worth it.
Outvoted.
Dare I say it out Destiny 2's Destiny 2.
And as a Destiny fan, I can actually agree with that, man. I
It
can
out
actually
Destiny
agree.
Destinies, or it out Destiny's Destiny. God, that's a tongue twister.
It does. It definitely occupies that space. That multiplayer space for me specifically. Like, there's so much to do, so many missions, and it's just fun, man. I don't know how else to put it.
It's nice, but as a Destiny film, it doesn't feel like they took stuff out like Destiny. You know how they just feel like there's like holes in it, or maybe there was supposed to be more substance to it. Like I feel like Monster Hunter, they probably jam packed their stuff. Like we were talking about the devs earlier, right before we started. They really cram everything they can into their games. So I really should.
Absolutely.
I will always say this: Monster Hunter World is the rare example, the extremely rare example of a game whose sequel changes things so much that it makes newcomers feel welcome to the series,
Oh yeah.
but doesn't change things to the point where veterans of the series are just like, this isn't my game. You've changed it too much. You've dumbed it down. I don't want to play it anymore. It has walked that tightrope extremely well, where newcomers are loving it and veterans are saying it's the best Monster Hunter they have ever played. That is rare waters in the gaming world. Rare. And kudos to Capcom for doing this, because it's gonna pay off.
yeah, like I've been actually playing the series since like the original in 2004, and
So you're a true veteran. So you know about the dark days.
oh yeah, that I absolutely love it. Like even with all the quality of life changes, I think they make the game a lot better. Like not to sound like some shrew or some like like oh I'm just trying to up the game. I've played it on the PlayStation 2. I played it on the PSP. I played it on the 3DS. I played it on the Wii and the Wii U. Like I'm a big fan of Monster Hunter. And playing this one, I'm like absolutely in love. I love all the changes that they made. They made it a solid game. They made it a welcoming game. I like personally as a Monster Hunter player, like I want more people in the community to start playing the game. And if they made it a little bit more accessible in the beginning, which it is, but once you start getting higher in hunter rank, the game actually starts becoming a challenge still, even for veteran players. I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You have veterans that can teach newcomers and get new fans into the series and get more of these games, put on like the PS4 or the Xbox One or the PC, and not just on a handheld. Because as much as I love the series, I'm not a big fan of playing it on the handheld, but that's the only place where I can play it. So that's what I'm playing it on.
Right. And it makes you wonder like why they waited so long to get a like a version of it on one of the top consoles, or well, all of them now actually.
Probably two reasons. One, they probably had a really exclusive deal with Nintendo, because remember, for a while all Monster Hunter games were coming out on 3DS and the Wii. And I guess I don't think there was a Monster Hunter on the DS, but
No,
yeah. Oh, there was?
I don't know. There wasn't, but I don't think it was an exclusivity deal. I just think because
yeah, it wasn't like an official exclusivity, but it just seemed like for a number of years, all Monster Hunter games are just coming on Nintendo systems.
Yeah. You have to take into consideration like Monster Hunter is a niche game with it.
Yes.
Like it's when it first came out, it wasn't for everybody. It's just like go out, kill monsters, come back, build more gear. There's no real like progression system in terms of like your traits and skills, because it's all based off of your actual player skill, going out and killing monsters, getting the item or resources to build more gear and keep going that way. However, In Japan, handheld gaming is massive because people
Yes,
are
that's yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So when you have a system like the 3DS that does really well in Japan, it's kind of like, all right, what am I going to put my game on? Am I going to put it on a PS4 or I'm going to put it on a 3DS where it's like I have more people that are playing this and they commute and they're playing on the train together for like half an hour, 45 minutes, however long their commute is while they're sitting on the train doing hunts with random hunters and stuff like that. For them, it makes sense to do a handheld system that, in their region is more commonly used rather than the PS4 or the Xbox One.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
So like the exact opposite of what where a game like that should be. Like even just looking over said shoulder right now, just like the perspective of how massive that is. And they're like, yeah, put it on the lowest quality, smallest screen we can get it on. And then all that.
And the fact that this is
like a shame that they haven't had more big blockbustery things.
But that's also a thing with I don't know if this is a generalization or not, but a lot of more Eastern made Japanese style games, they don't have that sort of grand cinematic open world scale. Like you really don't see that much. I mean, yeah, they might do an open world game, but it's never going to be something so cinematic like Monster Hunter World. Like I really think this could compete with stuff like Uncharted, Horizon in terms of just being so massively cinematic. Like Monster Hunter World is doing that. I don't
think it's more the cinematic aspect, but I think it's more of the shock. Like when you're playing the game, when they introduce the monster and they're just like, here's a cinematic for the monster, they make those monsters feel powerful. They make them feel like, okay, I'm out here in the woods, this is a dragon. Like, and it feels like, okay, I'm looking at a dragon. Like I should be scared. I should be nervous to try to take this thing on. So not in terms of cinematic, but they actually, they stress that power of the monsters that you're hunting. Like every time I played this game and it introduced a new monster, and it's like, oh my god, what is that? That is awesome, but I'm scared as shit to go against it right now. I don't know if I have the right gear or the right skill to take this monster on.
I think you both make a good point. And to Vince's point, I think the cinematic aspect does play a major part actually, because like, I mean, you go out there into this big world and you never know what's gonna happen, and when something does happen, it feels like a scene in a monster movie. Like you got these big fucking dinosaurs. Okay, fine, they might be trying to attack you, but then another one come out of nowhere and attack the other one. It feels like a Godzilla movie.
Which is one thing I want to ask, just since you're the Monster Hunter veteran of all of us, was that a thing in older ones? Was it like a living world where you could walk around, look in the distance, and see a monster you're trying to hunt is actually hunting some prey, like the Jagras? Occasionally you'll come across a Jagras and it's hunting another animal and it eats it and walks back to its nest. Like, did that happen in the old games or
not really? And it wasn't at the level of detail like in this game. Like occasionally you'd see like a great Jaggy or something like that hit another monster in a cinematic in the game,
but never when during gameplay, like never making it feel like a open living world.
Like in the previous games, they only felt alive really in their cinematics, and when you're playing the game, it's like it's the target for today's hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like it feels like everything feels more lively. Like even the base monsters like the Kelby or the Apanoths and anything like that, like they feel more lively. They act more natural. Like they don't just feel like, all right, they're here placed. Now, mind you, you might want to take into consideration hardware limitations of like the 3DS, the PS2, the PS.
That's true, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it's honestly, it didn't really detract from the experience. But I think now it it enhances the experience. It doesn't even just like change. It just makes it just better. It enhances it.
It helps you realize. It takes your mind off the fact that, oh, this is a video game. It makes it seem like this is actually a living world. Right. Like you forget for a little bit, oh crap, I'm playing a video game. Let me pay attention.
And on top of that, you can use it as a strategy. Like if you want to wear out an animal and there's another one around that is, maybe like a rival of it, you can utilize that to your advantage, sit back for a minute while they, bang it out, and then bam, I think that's really cool.
And I just like an example, it wasn't last night, but I believe it was the night before, one of the hunts, they made me try to go up after a Rathalos. Now Rathalos is, big fire breathing dragon. It's kind of a pain in the ass to fight when you're first like building your way up. And midway of fighting this Rathalos, an Agenath comes out, and they just start fighting in the middle of the forest. And I'm like sitting there like, all right, well, I'm just gonna sit out and like kind of like gear myself up, like take a health potion, use a whetstone, do what I got to do while these two are going at it and see how much damage gets done. And sadly, Agenath didn't help me out too much, but just enough. so I'm trying to get back in the game.
What can be said about Monster Hunter World that hasn't been said already? Like, it started off the year strong. Like this thing is already going to be in Game of the Year contention by the time 2018 is over. Like, it's just that good. And I told my friend Monster Hunter Nerd, it's just I always tell him, congratulations, your niche ass series has finally made it to the big time. Like everybody is into it now. Everybody sees it now. It has its spotlight. Like it's Persona like fans got that.
No, I was gonna say it's like when your favorite musician finally gets that big label deal.
Yeah, like finally people realize y'all see why we like this game so much. Thank you.
So, what do you guys think are the chances of it ever hitting the Switch?
I don't think Monster Hunter World comes to Switch. I think the best thing that Nintendo could do is port Double Cross, well, not port Double Cross, but bring Double Cross to the West, because there's still a lot of Switch players that want to play Double Cross. Like I myself still want to play Double Cross. Like it's I've been playing this series forever. I'm going to play this one as well, and I know there's a lot of people that still want to play it.
And you said the import has a English patch now, right?
Yeah, I think you could find an English patch. I'm not sure if it's for the 3DS version or for the Switch version. I gotta double check, but I'm pretty sure some committed soul out there has an English patch readily available.
Wow.
God hands to translate this stuff. God bless them. And they do it for free.
For the love of the game, I don't understand.
So great.
Look, one game that I played to show you how some people can be committed to their games. There was a Vanillaware game. Like, I love Vanillaware as a developer because everything in their game is hand drawn. They had a game called Grand Knight. I believe it was Grand Knight Historia, which is a strategy game. It's a really good strategy game, but they never brought it to the West. I ended up buying a PSP Go and getting an emulated version. And the emulated version was in Japanese, but then I went to another website and there was a 100% English patch for the emulation. So I could play the game on my PSP Go fully translated. Like, you get people that are that committed, and that's not a short game. It's like, 80-100 hour game.
That's crazy, man. That's some commitment. That goes to show you how crazy the series is for people, man.
And have you guys ever seen a game script? Those things are huge.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I've never seen one, but I can only imagine.
And it only gets worse if the game's like an RPG or something where it's like thousands upon thousands of lines of dialogue and dialogue choices. Oh yeah.
I remember
game scripts are ridiculously long.
What was it? That big Hollywood crossover, Beyond Two Souls, when that came out, because it was like Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe, and they're not used to game stuff. They tweeted out a picture of the script. It's like this goddamn thick. It's like a dictionary. It's like, what the fuck? Ooh. It's like 3 TV shows for them. So much dialogue.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, ain't much else we can say about Monster Hunter World. We're all playing it. We loving it.
Guys,
I'm not.
Right, so who do you think is going to be the first Western developer that's going to try to emulate something similar to Monster Hunter World?
Well, I mean, major developer. Because I was actually going to say, like, it's kind of a testament to the series that even without its Western mainstream appeal up until this point, there's so many clones of that game already. It's made such an impact on the gaming world overall.
So, in Japan, and we got some of these games here in the States, but you had like Freedom Wars, you had Tokiden, you had Soul Sacrifice,
God Eater.
And they're all very similar to the Monster Hunter.
Even the Attack on Titan game.
Yeah, and even the Attack on Titan game to some extent. Now check this out. So for people who've been living under a rock for the past couple of days, Monster Hunter has already shipped and sold 5 million copies weekend, which is that's a lot of copies. For most people that's a major success. And with a lot of the Western companies being as archaic and formulaic in their in how they conduct their business, seeing a number like 5 million over a 3 day, over a weekend, somebody somewhere is probably sitting on a yacht like, how can I get in on this?
Oh, absolutely.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
but also this is
I think
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Duff.
Well, I was gonna say it's funny how games get released. Like I remember, I mean, shoot, even back to like a little bit before we were at GameStop, just it was probably around that time that it was just fall. It was fall is when every game comes out, and that's it.
Yeah,
like,
that's still fall, how it
you're
is.
Gonna be poor. You're gonna be poor. No, now there's that second pickup around March. Like there's that weird. There's a second wave of movies or games. I feel like, and the reason I said movies is because it's a similar like idea. Mm-hmm. That like they're there's always this season where they put out like they have their big tent poles. It's gonna be the big. This is our blockbuster. This is our not block. And
well, they have to now because fall is so. Because usually every fall you're gonna have your Call of Duties. You're gonna have probably your Assassin's Creeds. Mm-hmm. Like fall is when the big names, the ones that will consistently sell millions of copies. That's when the big games come out, and you don't want to put your game out there when it's gonna lose sales. You put it out
release time
at other times in the year. Yeah,
well, right. Yeah, like that's why they do it the way they do because it's Christmas or Christmas holidays. Sorry, Christmas, Hanukkah, all that
holidays,
stuff. all the separate holidays, and then also the second one is tax return. What?
Yeah, the other one is tax return. So what we used to say when we used to work at GameStop, we used to call it second Christmas because people would get their tax return and they're just like, man, I get to go buy a PS4 Pro now, and I'm gonna go play games.
Dude, they would talk to us about how they have no other money. Yeah, and like, why are you spending all of this right now? And they're like, shut up, that's not your job to ask me that question. I'm like, that's a good point. There's 9 PlayStations.
Like, second Christmas is great because that's when you see somebody spend $1,500 in games and has to call the local bus authority to see when the next scheduled bus is to come. Right. Again, I've seen that. I've been in store when that's happened.
That's a little sad, but damn.
Priorities in that job. Yeah.
Damn.
Addiction, man.
So back to what to my question. I think when we go back to which Western dev will probably copy a Monster Hunter formula first or something similar, I think I'm going to say Ubisoft.
Maybe because Ubisoft already knows how to make open world games. The thing is, do they make open world multiplayer games? Like I know there's Ghost Recon Wildlands, but aside from that, like
I think starting with Ghost Recon Wildlands, like that might be the push. I mean, you also have the Division, which is an open.
Oh, right. I always forget about the Division.
They've been like about to be multiplayer contenders for a long time. I feel like with a lot of the games.
Well, there was also the Crew, which the first Crew was pretty fucking terrible.
That was such a build up for a really bad performance.
Yeah.
I would actually say, I don't know about dev, but the one game that I think could copy Monster Hunter, Anthem. Even though it just got delayed to 2019, but Anthem could do that. I mean, assuming EA doesn't fuck it over with microtransactions, but I think Anthem could do that.
Well, all we could do is pray, but I think we know the unresolved, Vince.
Look, man, BioWare is one of my 3 favorite developing studios. Like I'm holding out hope. I'm really holding out hope.
1, Old Republic 2, Jade Empire, Dragon Age. They have a bunch of amazing games, but here's the issue. I think Mass Effect 2 is kind of where it started, and Mass Effect 3 kind of solidified it with some of the issues that they were having. And I love the original Mass Effect, and I loved Mass Effect 2, even though it had some issues. By the time I got to 3, I was just like, I'm kind of fucking done with this series because there's a lot of shit in here that's not right. So like all we could do is really just hope. I need microtransactions out the window. I need Anthem to be an actual good game that stands on its own, is not a copy of something else that's successful, like devs and some of the bigger devs and publishers tend to do, because they want to go where the money is, which who wouldn't. But at the same time, I think you'll do better as a company if you stand on your own 2 feet and do the stuff that you're committed to doing, like do the stuff that you want to do. When you come up with a game, you're just like, hey, well, we'll just copy this and just make it our own way. You're setting yourself up for failure. You know,
it's too many hands in the pot, man. That's just
unless you can somehow make it better than the thing you're copying it from.
Yeah, and don't forget there's two different audiences you're playing towards. You're playing towards just the mass people that are going to buy it, and then the people that you actually are making it for. So it's a weird line people fall. Like, they never really walk it right. And I always feel like they try to steal. Like each lose a lot of substance.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, like I said, Anthem's my best bet, but like you said, Ubisoft could be one. Ubisoft could do it.
Hopefully no one does. That would just be easier.
I wouldn't bet on that though.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be like some free to play variant from like a smaller studio that will come out. It's just like, hey, it's free to play. Go.
Right. Well, they have Onigiri. That's kind of like a free to play Monster Hunter type game.
Yeah, is that Eastern or Western?
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah, it is Eastern. Yeah.
Like the thing with Western games, they tend to want like sort of big blockbuster stuff like Destiny and Monster Hunter World, even though it is technically kind of that.
Right.
I mean, at its core, Monster Hunter is still more of like a smaller kind of niche game. At least to me,
if it goes
still
Western,
is.
If it goes Western, you know it's gonna have lots of explosions and
it's gonna be like gun oriented and whatnot. Yeah.
Guns and grenades and missiles.
Mm-hmm. Which again is what Anthem is, but
right.
That's neither
people hunter.
Oh, good lord!
That game is called Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Right.
Or Hitman.
Hitman, true, yeah. Just make a multiplayer Hitman. There you go.
Dude, don't tease me with that. That seems awesome.
That would be awesome, actually.
Like if you drop 4 people off at the same party and they all don't know they're hunting each other, and you gotta like not make everyone go. That'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Like a better version of Evolve.
That would be so hard to balance that gameplay. That testing would be a nightmare. But yeah, that would be sweet if you could actually get like 4 assassins against each other in a situation.
Yeah, that was the Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
True. Yeah, no, that's right.
I didn't play that enough. God damn it. Duh, Jesus Christ.
That was actually really good too. Like the multiplayer on the old.
It was terrible.
That exact game I already just explained.
What, the Assassin's Creed multiplayer? That shit was fun, man. On the old ones,
you know what? It's subjective because I hated it. I tried it like 6 times and I was just like, this is bullshit. I keep dying.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed doesn't seem like a game that would be good for multiplayer. To me, it doesn't. But then again, I'm not a huge Assassin's Creed fan either.
Well, I
literally don't personally like the series.
Describing.
Yeah, it was literally what Duffy just described of what he thought Hitman would be in a multiplayer environment. That's exactly what Assassin's Creed Online was.
But you had like a chainsaw as a bayonet. That'd be cool. Can we do that?
I never heard of that before. That sounds dope. Let's do it.
Wait, wouldn't that be Friday the 13th video game?
No, that would be Gears of War.
A guy with a chainsaw for an arm. It sounds like some Duke Nukem shit to me.
Oh man,
Duke Nukem. Speaking of Duke Nukem, I hear there's supposed to be a movie with John Cena.
Unfortunately.
Why are we making a Duke Nukem movie in 2018? That sounds like it's just like somebody's trying to destroy their life.
Real talk. Why are we still trying to make video game movies? Period.
Good point.
You know, if they did a Duke Nukem movie with John Cena, they will do a "you can't see me" joke. You know they're gonna do it.
Of course they will. Like this bothers me a little bit. As far as, I mean, aside from the fact that a Duke Nukem movie is a stupid fucking idea, like beyond that point, it's getting to the point now where it's like, we really don't need our games to be turned into movies now. Like, what do we need them for? For recognition at this point? It's like games are ingrained in the culture now. It's not 90s when games were still like a sort of geeky nerd niche thing. Like,
right.
You see game commercials during the Super Bowl.
Plus, the games themselves already are blurring the lines between cinema and a game anyway. Like, the production values are almost the same as a movie.
But you can say the same thing for comic books, can't you? Like comic books being turned into movies shouldn't happen because comic books are already grained in the nerd culture that they're already their own thing. They already feel cinematic.
But right? I feel like comic books translate better into movies than some games.
Because for one thing, you're actually seeing it in motion now. You're seeing it happen.
I mean,
in action.
The first comic book movies that came out were fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Nobody here likes the X-Men original trilogy. Like maybe
the first two were okay.
The first two were good.
The third X-Men sucks. Hold on.
It kind of sucks. If you
want
to go back and
garbage fire, but the first two were the first two that were good. But that, dude, you got to go earlier to the comic book movies like Batman Forever and shit. George Clooney with his Batman nipples.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, hey, if we actually get good, video game movies, I'm for it. But I mean, you're gonna have bad ones. I mean, it's not like they're gonna get Yul Boll to direct.
Well, see, one would
actually make it fantastic. Please get Yul Boll to direct the Duke Nukem movie. That is perfect because he actually did a good job of Postal.
Please do not. But here's one reason why I'm starting to get really wary of video game movies, is because a lot of these video game movies are trying to cram like a 10 to 20 hour campaign of a game into a 2-hour movie, and you can't do that. Like, you can't develop a character, you can't develop a plot, you can't build the world. Like, you can't do that in 2 hours.
Check this out. I'm going to take a comic book arc that lasts 6 months and I'm going to put it into an 1.5-hour movie.
True.
Infinity War movie, right?
True, but that's adapted for think about most video game movies that have come out. They try to do like a 1-to-1 adaptation of the game. It's just like,
you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, he's right though. They go like they'll try to boil a whole series down to one game. Like the funniest version of that to me was like the Assassin's Creed movie. It's like, how are you gonna do?
Oh, that was so terrible.
Yeah. It's the future and the past, and it's the future and the past. Look how beautiful Michael Fassbender is. Don't think about the confusing plot holes.
If they were to do like its own standalone story for a video game movie, I can guarantee you would watch it if it had good writing.
Yeah, and see,
it comes down to the writing.
That's one way that I think video game movies can work, is either you make it a side story, like not something associated with the main stories. Do something like set in the same universe, have callbacks to the original game, but have it be like a side story. Like take Rogue One, for example, the Star Wars spinoff. Yeah, like we all know the Star Wars story, but Rogue One succeeded because it was different. It didn't have anything to do with the main plot. It was its own separate thing. Like, there's always talk about when's the Halo movie coming out, and I'm just like, I don't want a Halo movie about the Master Chief. Like, you're just gonna have 2 hours of the Master Chief running around an alien ring shooting aliens. That's gonna be boring. Like, give me something about the fall of Reach, the Master Chief's backstory, like some side character who only hears about the Master Chief and like sees him in like glimpses and whatnot. Tell me something.
That'd be great. Because like the ships he crashes, lands around the characters in the middle of the show. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like
you just have them like get involved for a second and then
like create your own side story, which can get non-fans of it into it, but then have callbacks to the original game or references to the original game.
If I remember correctly, it was an animated movie, right?
Halo: The Fall of Reach.
There was an
it was an animated movie. The problem was it wasn't very good because it was like it wasn't even a movie. It was like 30 minutes long. It was a terrible movie, which sucks because the book for Halo: The Fall of Reach is amazing. Like, it fleshes out everything.
That's what it was. Halo Legends. It came out in 2010. It was 2 hours long.
Oh, Halo Legends. No, that was like a collection of just short. Well, that is kind of what I'm talking about. It was a collection of short stories.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so
like that had nothing to do with the Master Chief. They were just all side stories from around the Halo universe.
Okay, so sort of like the Animatrix then.
Yes, that's exactly what Halo Legends is. It's the Animatrix. It's the Animatrix in the Halo universe.
But it's still a movie. Like, it may not have a theatrical release. I don't think the Animatrix did either.
No, it never did. There's a real big study on this. There's a book called The Art of Immersion that's really goddamn cool. That goes into about how all these other, like, how you really hit that flow state where, because that's like the point of games, is to get somebody to the point where they're like removed from space and time. You're literally just so focused on that balance of challenge and fun. But like the story, there's so many cross media. 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 There's so many cross God damn it, what's the term? Intellectual properties now. There's another like concise term for it I can't think of right now. But the Animatrix was exactly one of the biggest examples they used in that book, Joe's, which is why I bring that up now, because the Wachowski brothers designed it that way to be like they want their universe experience, like book, game, movie. Because Enter the Matrix was its own story too.
Media marketing.
Yeah, but like so, I think that you know, going back to Vince's point that like if you do like a side story, that would be cool as shit to just like reference that or hear about it in the game.
Yeah, expand the universe.
Yeah,
like make it more than just the original game. Make it about the universe, like because they're.
Agree. I think what that's going to take though is the same thing that like Jez was saying earlier is comic book movies. You started out, they really had to feel that shit out. It's like, wow, with this, okay, well these 19 suck. We know not what to do now. Or what to not do. But also you have so many kids growing up that love comic books and go to see these movies and like, I grew up with this stuff. This is in my blood, but now I know how this shit works when I'm an adult. So you get your like Chris, I feel like that you get a more like nuanced person who understands it more deeply because it's kind of part of like, you know, for lack of
that's actually what I was going to bring up. I think a lot of the problems previously with the comic book movies, but now more so with the video game movies is they're getting filtered through the higher ups in these movie companies that don't know shit about the IPs or video games for that matter.
Like, oh, it's just a new hotness. The kids will watch it regardless. Just make it.
Right. Like going back to Assassin's Creed, the movie, like they were adding shit to that movie that didn't make any sense. Like, why is he jumping around in the Animus? That
suddenly it's
that makes sense.
Thing.
Yeah. And it's like, you can tell like people who don't know shit about these games or gaming for that matter, or what gamers want from other forms of media, you know, you can look at these movies and see these people don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest problems with that new Tomb Raider movie comes out when it comes out. It looks like Tomb Raider, no question about that. It looks the part of the Tomb Raider reboot. The problem is, looking at the trailers, it's just like you're making it a dumb action movie, and the first Tomb Raider isn't that. It's about Lara Croft becoming a survivor, her having to do some really horrible, grimy shit just to survive on a deserted island. You've made it like some action movie where like she's trying to stop some evil plot to destroy the world or what. Like that's not what that's not what the Tomb Raider reboot was about. The sequel maybe, but not the reboot. No.
Yeah, they think gamers is still just a bunch of like, you know, we're looking for just like dumb fun, you know, big kids. We're grown ass adults now. We like games, but we watch movies. We know what good movies are. Give us that. You know, like,
yeah, they still do kind of play for your parents' money, not really for yours.
Exactly.
And it's that same idea. Like they have no faith in people. And you know what my other example of that is? How I know? They're making a fucking Rubik's Cube movie. Like intellectual properties are not exactly like
what?
How is that? How, Sway? How? Hold on. Like, what's the plot?
On the other side of the cube is
I was like, dude, first of all, if you really are dying, Mr. Rubik, and you need to make your goddamn cube, like make it. Why not just tie it right into Hellraiser? Easy. But,
I mean, even the Angry Birds movie, that kind of had a little bit of a plot. The game had a little bit of a plot. But what the fuck?
And that another good example, that Emoji movie. What the fuck?
Yeah, that garbage too.
I didn't even watch it. That was man.
I don't think anybody did.
No.
If you tell me that you did, you're a liar.
or three.
Okay, hold on. So the Rubik's Cube movie, well, it doesn't look like it happened, but there was at least something being shopped around for a long time, like a script. And hold on, let me look up the toys.
Oh, gee, I wonder why it hasn't been picked up yet.
Yeah, I know, right? Development hell. I don't know.
Development hell is the fact that was even started development.
Exactly.
Hold on.
There's
a lot now. There's like a lot of those scripts because like Transformers and Battleship, they're like, what about Battleship the movie? Like, what happens? Like, Battleship. Like, that's great. Michael Bay will direct.
All right. To be fair, the Battleship movie was dumb fun. It was a bad movie, but it was dumb fun. I enjoyed it.
But that sets a precedent now where you're like, fuck it, just make that a thing. I don't know, Mr. Like, who's the guy where you have like the magnet? Where, I mean, I'm surprised there's not a Mr. Potato Head movie already. Like
there is. No. It's called Toy Story.
Yeah.
No. Standalone. I'm talking standalone. Like we're
a spinoff.
Yeah, like entire projects devoted to these toys are very interesting choices they're making. Hold on.
I need Hungry Hippos the movie. ASAP.
Right? I wouldn't be shocked if they did that already.
Dude,
They
hippos
should-
kill the most people a year.
They
There's
should
your
what they should do is reboot the Mr. Bucket toy, the one that shoots the balls out of his mouth, and make it into a gritty horror movie for kids.
Pause.
Mr.
I'm just saying that's balls out his mouth.
I'm just gonna let that one slide. Right, we're just gonna put that one off to the side.
Like Mr. Buckethead does.
Oh man.
But
All right.
yeah, video game movies, just stop. We don't need recognition. We don't need them to be movies. So
That being said, though,
Wait. So is Wreck-It Ralph considered a video game movie at least?
technically, I mean,
I'm gonna
technically it isn't. It has video game references because then you could say the same thing about Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Is Scott
Right,
Pilgrim a
it's-
video game movie?
I think that there's
Scott Pilgrim is more of a nerd movie because it has anime references in it too. It has video game references in it.
Yeah, I would say Wreck-It Ralph is probably the same thing. It's probably a nerd movie.
This is this discernible difference between a movie about video games and a video game movie. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the difference. And you can definitely do a movie that's based around video games, but there just seems to be an issue with making a good movie based on a pre-existing storyline that was in a video game already.
Yeah, there still hasn't been a good one.
And I want to ask y'all this though.
Mortal
That being
Kombat,
said,
Vince. Mortal Kombat.
I want to, see, hold on.
What is your question?
That might actually be one of the answers of my question. So we can all agree that there have been very few, if any, good video game movies.
No. There are no good video game movies.
Okay,
there are
so
no good ones.
Which one, out of the ones that you guys have seen, which one has come the closest to being okay? Steve.
Mortal Kombat sucks so good.
It was good when I was a kid.
But okay, at least it really is like a pretty contained story. Like they didn't try to like do the entirety of the. They did like when you get to Annihilation is probably the biggest mess I've ever seen on film.
Oh yeah,
but
terrible.
Like it's good fun how terrible that movie is. But like the first one, at least they're just like, look, no, you fight him, you die. Here's a guy with 4 arms. He's fucking weird. That guy freezes people. Johnny Cage gonna punch you in the dick. That's about it. Like not a lot's gonna happen. It's just this is Mortal Kombat. That's it. We're gonna leave now. And I was like, that's all I needed. And
all right. So, question: Does this pertain to only live action movies, or does this count animated movies?
Well, yeah, because animated movie, I would say live action.
I was about to say Advent Children. That takes the cake.
Yeah, because like there's a decent amount of good animated video game based movies,
which I will get into after we give our choices, because I have
Absolutely.
like something to add to that. But
yeah, we have to definitely have to talk about that. But yeah, I'll definitely like strictly live action. Strictly live action. I have my answer, but I'll let.
So before I give my live action answer, I just want to let you know the Sonic the Hedgehog anime movie is probably one of the best video game movies ever made. Fight me.
I never saw it, so I can't comment.
Well, you're wrong. You should go fix that. I think the best, honestly, that's a loaded question because any live action video game movie that has come out within the last 2 decades hasn't been great.
Yeah, you don't say the best. You say the most tolerable.
Well, that's what you know what I mean. That's what I meant. Like what's the best of the worst? You know what I mean? Like
the only 2 I've actually watched multiple times is Super Mario Brothers and
classic film, classic art. That is art. John Leguizamo.
I don't like Resident Evil as much as I would rather watch Super Mario Brothers because
whoa. I question that.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Resident Evil. At least I can watch it. At least I can watch what's her name, Mila Jovovich, do some crazy shit, and she looks hot. So yeah, at least I got that.
At least you got that.
Solid 4. Don't get yourself.
I mean, I'm not saying she's the greatest. I'm just saying.
Compared to Mario Brothers,
John Leguizamo in it. He's Luigi Mario.
And Bob Hoskins says that's one of the worst fucking movies he ever made. May he rest in peace.
No, I read a whole article about all the shit they went through behind the scenes on that movie. That might have to be a podcast all in itself. That shit is crazy. So much shit happened behind the scenes.
It's Mario, and Luigi Mario.
Mm.
I forgot their names are truly.
The people
right.
that wrote it, right? Yeah.
All right,
okay, but I will say
I got
there's a podcast called How Did This Get Made, and it's about shitty movies.
Right.
And they've done one on the Mario movie and the Street Fighter movie and Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat maybe not.
Oh god, don't mention the Street Fighter movie.
Hey, which one? There were like 3 of them, right? There was one with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Then there was the Chun-Li movie. And another one, right?
I don't think there was a third one. Yeah, it was just 2.
They're both terrible. They're both.
Oh yeah.
The anime is a classic though.
Oh yeah, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Oh yeah, that's.
Oh, you know what? I forgot about the
Chun-Li titties. No, okay.
That's sexy.
No, that's sexy. No, I'm kidding.
Here's my choice. Y'all might not have seen this, and no lie, this is a bad movie. There are so many problems with this movie, but for some reason, because it reminds me of my favorite movie of all time, I like it somewhat, and it's Wing Commander. Because my favorite movie of all time is Top Gun, and Wing Commander is essentially.
Jr. or something was in there, right?
Yeah. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard, and it's essentially Top Gun in space. It's the Wing Commander. It's like a Wing Commander video game movie, and it's a terrible movie. It is horrible. Like there are scientific plot holes, like shit that shouldn't be scientifically accurate is in that movie. like how the hell is a jet gonna launch from a spaceship and it falls off the spaceship? There is no gravity in space. Why is it falling off the ship? But
wait, it fell?
Because you know
that's awful.
You know how like an aircraft carrier when it launches off the deck then falls a little bit before taking off. Right. They did that shit in space, and I'm just like, there's no gravity in space. Why fall? What?
How do you explain that?
Yeah, I digress. It's a bad movie, but gun-esque moments. And I'm just like, okay, because you're reminding me of my favorite movie of all time, I can accept you. That's will be my video game movie.
He gave you
so bad.
I was expecting. Like the director was so ignorant he ignored concepts like gravity. I need to see what the rest of this movie's like. That's
a movie of all time. It was one of the first movies I ever saw.
I'm curious. It's like watching a train wreck. You gotta go take a look.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's an actual movie I forgot about. I don't know if I know y'all have heard of it. Silent Hill. What did y'all think? If y'all ever seen that one?
Yo, I actually have an opinion on that. It was it was a terrible movie, but I will say they stuck very closely to the source material with that.
Like,
but to its detriment though, because it was paced like the fucking video game. Yeah, it put me to sleep, man. The best part of that movie was Pyramid Head ripping people apart, which was ridiculous. But was that
also that really gave you that real sense of fear when the siren kicked on, the fog comes in, you know, all that shit. That was like,
yeah,
they did that well. There was a few things in that movie I'm like, okay, all right, like little parts of details that they hit that some of the other movies just like fuck that.
Yeah, the cinematography and like production value and even some of the acting was okay, but as an overall project, it was just so
mediocre at best.
Droned on and on. But all right, so my movie pick would be, and I might be alone on this, and I actually kind of enjoyed the movie, the first Hitman movie.
I'm judging the shit out of you right now.
Judge me. It's okay. That's what we're here for.
Which Hitman are we going with?
The first Hitman. I didn't see the second remake or whatever you want, reboot, whatever.
That was the one from like 2007.
Yeah, that one. The one from 2007. I found that movie to be okay. I thought it was okay. I mean, in the grand scheme of things.
Hitman, not the one called Agent 47 or whatever.
Yeah.
Just the very first Hitman movie.
Gotcha. I thought it was okay.
I mean, the story was there. The acting was pretty good, though. I'll give him that. Vince ain't feeling that one.
I'm not feeling any of these choices in all honesty.
Right.
That goes with territory.
Everything was so like carefully done until that movie. Everything, a lot of the Hitman games are very intentional. A lot of the stuff that they do, and then that movie, it seemed a lot more like
They made it an action movie instead of
Yeah,
being like a stealth.
Thank you.
movie.
Thank you.
Right.
That's
They
what
made it
he
a
said.
dumb action movie.
What he said. Yeah.
Right.
Ugh.
Oh, dude, I found. Okay, I got a list of 10 upcoming films based on toys. Here we go. Ooh, guess who's working on Candyland? Columbia Pictures and Adam Sandler's Happy Madison Company.
That guarantees failure.
That's right. That has to.
That's I believe that's called a Netflix original movie.
Oh,
Mm. Mm.
Man. Hungry Hippos. Just no. What? Nah.
I knew it.
Emmett or slash Furla Films is producing its first foray into animation. No joke. That actually just came full circle within this podcast. We literally got there.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
We can end the list there. I already won. Yes.
Since we're doing this, oh my bad. Go ahead, Vince. What you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, just to put a bow on this video game movie topic, like if you really want to see your video game that isn't in video game form, if you really want that, either read a novel spin-off, like the Halo novels are good books. Either read the books, or watch or see if it has an anime.
Me no
Because,
read, me smash.
Honestly, a video game, like because
Controllers and Cheetos and shit.
yeah, just like games that have been turned into like anime that have been very well done, like the Persona games have been turned into anime. Probably the best video game to TV show adaptation I've ever seen is an anime.
Because that it was dope as shit.
Yeah, go Gungrave. If Gungrave was a PS2 game and they turned it into a 26 episode anime that not only told the story of the game but told the backstory of the main character, and they did it. Yeah, see the anime. The anime
was better than the game.
Like that is how you turn a video game into something other than a video game.
Right.
But yeah, just to put a bow on that. Like
right, but that also can lead into what I was thinking here. Well, actually, I can't take credit for this. This is something that Vince had brought up earlier. Well, first of all, we can all agree video games are an art form, right? Art.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it depends. It depends. I think you can have games that are art, like as art pieces, but then you can have games that are games. Does that make sense?
I know what you're saying, but I think even the games that are games are art as well. That's an art, like you're designing something that's creative.
Yeah, it is an art form.
Yeah, well, that's the main question.
Yeah,
like art Transformers art in comparison to Citizen Kane, like it's that kind of thing. I feel I'm with Juz too. Like there's some games you're like, yes, that's beautiful. The other ones are like, it's literally a dick.
Citizen Kane is art.
Would you consider the gameplay aspect of a game art? Being able to design it? Yes.
Depends on the game. I think it depends on the game.
Yeah. That's true. Like there are games on Steam where you're literally a penis going around trying to fuck other penises.
But isn't there an art form to that as well? I mean,
you're right. I mean, subtle art of eroticism, and no, there's something to be said for the way. I guess there is something to be felt out and all that stuff. Like, and there really is a balance. Like having made stuff now to it. Like I will say that if you do that wrong, wow! Like the two things that we made, one of them shut down and is doing great because we really the whole thing's in that. Not shut down, but just like they're working on reworking something right now because it's just not making enough money because something didn't work. But it was all the balancing act of what we did. Right. And it's all personal input, creative solutions to problems that weren't there. So it is, but it's also such a weirder art than I expected it to be. That like I do love the multimedia like coming like what it's turned into, like like just one sheer aesthetic being done over. Like that's why BioShock's one of my favorite games. It's just like you 100% feel there in every way.
Yes.
Like, I feel like a game has to hit certain components or certain like requirements before it becomes more from art to from a game to a piece of art.
Agreed. I don't know where that line is, but I agree. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, and it's a very easily blurred line because like while some people say BioShock is a game, there's some people that say BioShock is art. Not only because of it aesthetically looking good, but just all the world building that goes into it, all the storytelling,
the philosophy behind it, the philosophy the characters believe in.
There's a lot more, and there's a lot, there's a deeper meaning behind it, and there's a bigger plot that's going on that you don't even realize till you get to the end of the game. Granted, you're spending most of the game, shooting and doing all this other stuff, but then once it clicks at the end, it's like, this isn't just a game, this is art. Like, you kind of get that vibe. Like, you have that moment of realization where it's just like, who just fucked my brain? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you get that moment where it's just like, why did this happen? And why do I feel so, like, you feel bad that it ended, or you feel sad that it ended. Like, I think that's what really draws the line, is distinguishes a game from being a game to being art.
So would it be fair to say that it's not necessarily a matter of whether video games as a whole is art, or rather it's between good art and bad art? Like, you could look at Pong. Go back to the original Pong. Technically, it's art, but it's not like a fucking Monet painting. It's a stick and a dot going back and forth.
Like, I would consider Pong just strictly as a game.
It's like, I would consider a dot. Please don't simplify it.
Touche.
Like, personally, I would consider Pong just as a game, because before games became an art and a truly an art form, like, there's a lot that had to happen there. Like, you're not going to consider a cave painting art. You're going to consider it a cave painting, and you're going to consider it a part of history. But you consider a cave painting as just like, that's.
I would disagree.
Art critic.
I would say a cave painting is art. It's not good art, but it's art.
Yeah, that's, you know what, I'm gonna say there. Yeah,
it's historically relevant.
It's expressioning.
Okay.
Right.
That's probably the best way.
Right, like, you're not gonna sit there and put it next to like a Van Gogh or whatever, and say, okay, well, these are the same fucking thing, But at the same time, some motherfucker, with a stick and some, I don't know, insect blood or whatever the fuck they use to draw, made a fucking mongoose and an elephant. It's still art, he made it. It's a creation.
I'm telling you what he had for dinner,
Yeah.
Instagram.
Probably.
Dude, part of me so hopes that, like, they're like, dude, I'm gonna paint this girl an elephant. I'm gonna get some pussy. Like,
I bet the dude that drew the best elephant got all the cave pussy, man. I'm telling you.
I hope so. That's that.
But thinking about this, discussing like if a game is art, like, I don't know if y'all remember, but like, I think it was maybe 5, maybe 10 years ago or something. The Smithsonian Art Museum had like a year-long exhibit on video games as
I was
artwork.
there. Yes.
Yeah. And you want to know I remember some of the games they had on display there. They had Flower, like the old game,
that's a very good call.
We would all consider that as art. Flower is art.
Absolutely. More art than a game, even, I would say.
Yes. They had Pac-Man. Art?
I would say so.
I would say game.
Yeah, I mean, like, fundamentally, that's just an interesting, like, from Flower to Pac-Man.
Worms Armageddon.
What?
I mean, was it
Worms Armageddon? Yeah, Worms Armageddon.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't actually see the exhibit, but was it more of just like, hey, here are a bunch of games that came out, and this is kind of like the lead up to where it was going, or was it just like, here's Pac-Man by Namco, this is art?
I
think it was more just showing how video games as an art form have evolved over the years. Like, starting out with like Pong, and then Pac-Man and Worms and Flower, and they had Mass Effect. They had Mass Effect 2 as well.
I guess my question for anyone here who would argue that it's
on what I said earlier. But you know what? We can say games are art, because think about it like this. When the Sega Genesis and Super NES were out, it was all pixel artwork to make that shit work. And you would get some of the most horrifying, or some of the dopest, or some of the most amazing images you would ever find in video games from the Super NES, the Sega Genesis games from back in the day. And they were all done through pixels. So yes, you know what? Thinking about that, I read it.
Not just visually. Think about the music too.
Yeah.
Like chip tunes and bit style music. A lot of that shit still holds up now.
I feel like because this all is, Ced's right. At the end of the day, it all inherently is art. It just gets so cheapened by, I mean, generally business first is how that's probably going to happen. At the end of the day, it's like, let's just make our money real fast. So you do forget. They're like, oh yeah, it's all art. But like, because you're not leaving the new Transformers movie going like, that was a good piece of art. Like, no, I just saw whatever Mark Wahlberg Punch Robots or whatever the fuck happened. I don't even know. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. But like it really does feel cheapened. But at the end of the day, it is all art.
Right, and that's basically what I was trying to say. Like it might not, it might be cheapened, watered down, or even just plain out shitty. But at the end of the day, it's still art.
Yeah, because you're not. And you know what? I misspoke earlier when I was saying you're making video games for two people now. I said like the people that you're going to buy and the people that you want to. I mean, like there's such a difference between your market and the shareholders.
Yeah,
the shareholders aren't necessarily buying a goddamn fucking thing you make, but you're also making things for them now too. So that I feel like that distinction is also where the art argument gets weird too. It really does get fucked over by that business split. Like it really, I don't know, that line between art and business really fucks this whole thing up sometimes. Sometimes, not every time, but enough.
Know it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say before I just switched positions there, but I was gonna say like I guess the question would have to be if you feel like certain games are not art. What's your definition of art in general? That would have to be the first question, right? Before you even answer that.
True.
That's way too deep for me.
Yeah, thanks.
I didn't have enough drinks tonight to answer the question like that. Like I need some drinks before I answer something like that.
I'm art. What we're going with. This is a piece of art right here. Love it.
I mean, I think it's a fair question, though. I think it's a fair question.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For whatever medium you want to use it for. I don't know. How do you?
But
yeah, how do you confine it?
Thanks, Ed. You gave a question that's just like made everybody shut up. Thank you. I appreciate
I created the first awkward silence on user input. Yes. All right. We don't have to get that deep now if you don't want to, but I figured it would be a fair question considering the conversation.
Well, in that case, in terms of just sort of stereotypically thinking of games as art, like a stereotypically artsy game, like, or even just what would you show to someone to show them that games are not just Pong or just like people shooting one another or something like trivial? Like, what would you show to someone to show that
that's a great
games
question.
Are serious? Games can speak to you on various different levels beyond just like, oh, it's a game, it's just meant to be for fun. Like, what games would you use?
So I had a situation, I want to say maybe like a year and a half, 2 at the very most, where I had a coworker of mine who was interested in getting a newer console, and they kind of settled on the Xbox One, but they were very, very, very picky about what they would play. Just because they didn't want anything shooter based because that's too it requires too much reaction time.
Yeah.
They didn't want to play anything that was going to take too long to get through. So I couldn't even offer like something like The Witcher, which The Witcher is fantastic as a series. But for some reason they decided to go with Dark Souls and play it as a puzzle. They said, I'm going to treat the whole game like as a massive puzzle. And I'm like, that's not how that works. This game actually requires.
Yeah, that's actually, that game's like stress in a nutshell. Like
stress inducing. But I gave them recommendations. So I like stuff like Massive Chalice, stuff like The Witcher, which I don't think they ever committed to. But then Fallout 4 came out, so they picked that up. They did go back to playing Elder Scrolls Skyrim, and I think they picked up the re-release. But they wanted just more RPGs where you didn't have to focus on like quick reactions and stuff like that. So it really becomes subjective, because he liked Fallout 4, but he didn't like Massive Chalice. But he liked games with turn-based combat, So right. It's always really weird. I think if I had to, depending on the person, it takes time. Like you got to have like a longer conversation. That's like at least an hour-long conversation you're having with that person to pick their brain to kind of find what suits what they're looking for.
For me, well, go ahead, Sid.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like just to reiterate the point you was trying to make. I think what Vince is saying more so than what's a good way to introduce someone into gaming, like what game would you present to a person to show them that it's not just about games, but it's
not an immature form of media. Like
right.
It can be mature. Like it can be for adults more or less.
Right.
Like
they don't even have to necessarily like that genre, but it can show them that,
You know what? If you're trying to just grab them right off the bat, The Last of Us was one of the most like engrossing.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
something with a with a storyline that
Yeah.
mature.
Right.
And especially how
That
it starts
kinda
right away too, like father-daughter, real deep, real fast kind of thing. And it also is kind of a mix of like I'm watching and playing, watching and playing. Now I'm just playing for a while, and like so like,
Yeah, something like
it's
that.
not going to turn someone into like a veteran gamer right away. Probably they might suck at that game, so they
here's
might watch a lot of that a few times. But like
the
I feel like
PS4
that's probably that's your best bets for throwing them right in.
so like a lot of the PS4 games are like Horizon or Uncharted or like The Last of Us. They actually just have like I noticed with Horizon they have like a story mode where it's like the game's difficulty is turned down significantly just to get somebody to get through the story. And there's some games that actually do have they're implementing those modes for a more very, very casual audience to kind of introduce them into gaming, but like, oh, you get to see this really amazing story as well. Like Uncharted, like I know a lot of people that jumped into gaming just because of Uncharted alone, which is fantastic, like an Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, well, you know what? There's also one of the ones that might be good is the like your maybe not necessarily Telltale, but those kind of games now that are like way more popular.
That's actually one of the 3 games I would give to someone.
Yeah, that's a great one.
One of them, Walking Dead Season 1. Like for someone that doesn't think games are mature or games can't make you feel something, I'll just say play through Season 1 of The Walking Dead, and I dare you not to cry at the last episode. I dare you not to cry at the end.
Like 80% of that game.
Yeah, like play The Walking Dead Season 1. If you're a bit more experienced with games, like as far as controlling them, Spec Ops: The Line, because it is a third-person shooter, but in terms of the story that Spec Ops tells and what it tries to get you to think, Spec Ops really just messes with your mind the entire way from beginning to end. And if they aren't good at playing games or they don't want something super violent like The Walking Dead or Spec Ops, play Journey. Like I had just played Journey for the first time like 2 years ago. I had heard so much about it, but I never got to play it. It was free on PS Plus 1 month, and I downloaded it, and I just sat down one afternoon and just played it all the way through. And by the end, I was just like, now I see why now I see why this thing gets so much praise. Like, it's beautiful. Like, Journey is the kind of game where you can just be like, oh, you don't think video games are art, or you think video games are just immature and stupid? Play Journey. It's 2 hours. Just play it through, and I dare you not to feel anything from it.
And you know what I think is a good mix of everything you guys just mentioned, and it's I haven't really heard a lot about the game recently, but it was really good, even though it's short. Hellblade. I'm
playing that right now. Like I'm playing well, now not anymore because of Monster Hunter, but I was playing Hellblade.
Right. I think that would be a perfect game. I mean, it's very like it's definitely not for like beginners at all. Like
you still need a bit of like sort of gameplay. You still need to sort of understand how to play a game in terms of the fighting and whatnot.
Right, and those puzzles, man, Jesus.
Yeah.
But it just kind of hits on every aspect from visual to storytelling.
It's subject matter, dealing with mental illness,
psychosis. Yeah, like they actually consulted like real like PhD
like doctors experienced in mental disabilities. Like they consult them to make sure, hey, this game's about psychosis. We want to make sure we're getting it 100% right. Please let us know if we're doing it right or wrong.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it does a really good job at what they were going for. I haven't finished it yet. I'm still in the middle of it like Vince, but so far so good.
Like another game, Catherine.
I always see that in the PSN store. I've never played it.
because it's a puzzle game, like a somewhat well, I'm stupid at puzzle games, but because it deals so much, it's one of the most realist games that ever talks about relationships and infidelity and sex and whatnot. Like, because the game is literally just about relationships. That's all it's about. Under the guise of a puzzle game, but it does it so well.
Oh, that's what it's about. All I saw was like a girl in a bra on the cover and some dude in her cleavage.
Yeah, it's literally a guy who's engaged to marry a girl named Catherine, and at one night at a bar, he cheats on his fiance with another girl named Catherine. And the gameplay is literally about him trying to balance this while he's sleeping. It turns into a puzzle game where if you don't complete the puzzle, you die and the game is over.
Jesus.
Really,
I mean, it's an anime ass game. It's an anime as fuck game.
Like, but some of the concepts and stuff they delve into get really, really deep. Like, you start figuring out why the main character, I think his name was Vincent.
Shocking.
Was it Vincent or was it?
Yeah, it was. It was.
It was Vincent. Oh, so you can relate.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't cheated on nobody, but yeah.
You know, he's like, you find out that these nightmares that he's having are related to like deep down fears that he's having about certain parts of his life and certain things in his relationship. Like, it's a fantastic game. It's hard as fuck though. Once you get
if you're terrible at puzzle games, it's gonna be rough.
Like, I would recommend that game definitely. I think a lot of the people that I know that are non-gamers and trying to recommend them games, if they see anything anime related, they're completely put off right out the gate. So, but that's one I would definitely recommend. You know,
I'm the complete opposite. I see some anime, I'm buying it.
Clearly.
Clearly.
Even like some like weird dating sims or anything like that.
Hey, Doki Doki Literature Club.
Look. I have heard about that game. I know the twist. I know what the twist is of Doki Doki Literature Club. It's just I've read enough about it. Like, everybody kept talking about it. I finally did some research on it. I was just like, oh, that's why people are into it. But I haven't played it, and I know it's free on Steam, as far as I know.
It's a mind fuck. It's a mind fuck.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That is exactly what I've heard.
It'll take you like 4 hours to get through it. Play it. It's probably the wildest 4 hours you'll have.
Yeah, man. Well, I will say, if you already know everything that's going to happen,
I don't know what happens in detail, but I know that there is a twist.
Yeah, you know what happens,
that
but
shit
you
gets
have
fucked
to
with.
experience it.
Yeah.
Doki Doki Literature Club, because it's just play it, regardless if you know what happens. You got to experience it. It's fantastic.
I've never played it. I don't know.
Oh, it was the zeitgeist for like a good month or two, because people kept saying, "Oh, you need to play Doki Doki Literature Club, like it's the new hotness." And you see it, it's just like, this looks like some silly anime dating sim. Why the hell would I want to play this? And they'll just be like, You'll know why you want to play it, and once you get to that point, you're gonna come back to us and be like, "What the fuck did I just play?" Like,
and that's a good example of some art shit too, because I don't want to give too much away, but like, there's certain Metal Gear Solid-esque things that you have to do in that game.
Should I download this right now? Am I actually gonna play this?
It's free. It's free as far as I know.
As well.
I know it's overpriced.
But it's about that time.
I'll definitely try.
It's about that time.
Is it? Oh shit!
Yeah, it's about that time. So,
boo.
I think we covered a lot today. Anybody ever got any questions? Send us any requests? Think of any topics that you want us to start talking about on the show? Make sure you send us an email at userinputpodcast@gmail.com. You know, make a comment on the Gamers Anonymous.
Oh, dude, I have good news before this episode ends. Sorry, I looked at my old thing. Turns out all these movies, these toy property movies, were all a few years ago, so they're not actually gonna happen. That sucks. It's like 2012 they were gonna make the Hungry Hippos movie. I'll have this very important piece of information, but I just wanted to get that out there before it was over. That I didn't want to sound like an idiot and just have that on tape forever. Sorry, finish. It's my fault.
I think that's it. I think we're good. And on the high note, that none of those movies are coming out. And
that's that's good. That's positive. Right.
Remember to like the post, comment on the post. If you're watching this on YouTube now, like the video, subscribe, all that other happy horse shit.
Yeah, don't forget to go over to the SoundCloud page and subscribe too. Like I know YouTube is mainly a visual experience. If you're just driving in the car and want to hear some good conversation, SoundCloud's the way to go too. So we got you set on both sides of that. So.
Or have the video playing while you're driving. Do that. That's always good.
See, I don't want no one crashing their car and then blaming us because they were watching user input. They were like, "Oh shit, look at Vince's cool ass T-shirt, he runs into a goddamn divider and die. I don't want that to happen. So
I'm actually okay with that. Please do it, everybody. Just
oh Jesus Christ, I did not co-sign that. But yeah,
we're trying to gain lesson news. Jack Thompson.
So yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. And remember, everyone, just Monica. Just Monica.
What the hell is that?
Just Monica.
Bye, everybody.